Chapter 5. The DNA Test. Sophia paced the length of her living room, her thoughts racing. The accusations she'd read online wouldn't leave her alone. The idea that Daniel might be hiding even more about his past, or worse, that he could be connected to Eva Harper's death, gnawed at her. She glanced toward Lila, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, coloring quietly. The sight of the little girl brought both comfort and anguish. How much of Lila's past had been stolen from her? How much did Sophia really know about the child she'd sworn to protect? There was only one way to find out. The next morning, Sophia waited until Daniel left for work before setting her plan into motion. She approached Leela, who was eating cereal at the kitchen table. "Sweetheart, can I see your bunny for a moment?" Leela hesitated, hugging the stuffed toy tightly. "Why?" "I just want to fix its ear," Sophia lied with a smile. "It looks a little loose, and I don't want it to fall off." Reluctantly, Lila handed over the bunny. As soon as she turned her attention back to her cereal, Sophia slipped into the laundry room and carefully plucked a few strands of hair from the bunny's worn fabric. She held them in her hand, her chest tightening with guilt. "I'm doing this for you," she whispered, as if trying to justify her actions to herself. 2 days later, Sophia sat in her car outside a discreet DNA testing center. The envelope containing Lila's hair and Daniel's toothbrush, the latter swiped from the bathroom that morning, felt heavy in her lap. Her fingers trembled as she handed the envelope to the technician behind the counter. "How long will it take?" she asked. "Results typically take about a week," the technician replied with a polite smile. Sophia nodded, thanking the woman before stepping outside. The brisk air hit her face, but it did little to calm the storm inside her. A week. 7 days of waiting, wondering, and watching Daniel for any sign that he was lying to her. The week passed agonizingly slowly. Sophia avoided bringing up the photograph or the documents again, but the tension in the house was palpable. Daniel seemed to sense her unease, but he didn't press her. If anything, he grew more distant, spending longer hours at work and retreating to his office whenever he was home. Lila, oblivious to the storm brewing around her, remained her bright and curious self. She'd started drawing more, filling page after page with pictures of people Sophia didn't recognize. "Who's this?" Sophia asked one evening, holding up a drawing of a dark-haired woman holding a baby. Leela shrugged. "Just someone I remember." Sophia's chest tightened. "From when you lived with your mom?" Lila paused, then nodded. "She used to tell me stories. She said I had a daddy, but he couldn't come see me." Sophia swallowed hard, her heart breaking for the little girl who had lost so much. Finally, the call came. Sophia sat in the car outside the testing center, her hands gripping the steering wheel as the technician's words echoed in her ears. The results show a 99.9% probability of paternity. Daniel Harper is Lila's biological father. The world seemed to tilt, her vision blurring as the reality of those words sank in. Daniel had lied to her. He'd known all along, or at least suspected, that Lila was his daughter. And yet, he'd let her believe this adoption was a fresh start for them both. He'd let her bond with Leela, knowing the truth would devastate her. Sophia didn't remember driving home. Her hands shook as she clutched the envelope containing the test results. That evening, as soon as Leela was asleep, Sophia confronted Daniel. "Explain this," she said, slamming the envelope onto the dining table. Daniel frowned, picking it up and pulling out the results. His face paled as he read the document. "You did a DNA test?" he asked, his voice low and stunned. "What choice did I have?" Sophia snapped. "You've been lying to me from the start. You knew Lila was your daughter, didn't you?" Daniel's jaw clenched. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Then how was it supposed to happen? Daniel, were you ever going to tell me the truth, or were you planning to let me live in the dark forever?" "I didn't know for sure until recently," he admitted, his voice strained. "When you brought her home, I started to suspect. She looked so much like Eva, I couldn't ignore it. But I didn't want to lose you, Sophia. I thought—" "You thought what?" Sophia interrupted, her voice trembling. "That you could lie to me and everything would be fine? That I wouldn't find out you had a child with another woman?" Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "I gave up everything for you, Daniel. My dreams, my health, everything, because I thought we were building a life together. And now I find out you've been keeping this from me? From her?" Daniel's shoulders sagged, his face etched with regret. I'm sorry, Sophia. I didn't handle this the right way. But I love you, and I love Lila. I didn't want to lose either of you. Sophia shook her head, the weight of his betrayal crushing her. It's not just about me, Daniel. Lila deserves the truth. She deserves to know who her father is and what happened to her mother. Daniel flinched at the mention of Eva. It's complicated, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. No, Daniel, Sophia said firmly. It's not complicated. It's the truth. And it's time you told it. Sophia walking away from the argument, her resolve hardening. She knows she can't let Daniel's lies define her relationship with Lila or with herself. But as she prepares to dig deeper into Eva's past, she wonders if she's ready for the answers she might uncover. Chapter 6: The Shattered Illusion. Sophia sat in the quiet of the kitchen, staring at the test results on the table. The air felt heavy with the weight of what she now knew. Daniel was Lila's biological father, and he had lied about it for as long as Lila had been in their lives. Her phone buzzed beside her, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from an unknown number. If you want to know the truth about Eva Harper, meet me at the Silver Lantern Cafe at 6 p.m. Sophia's heart raced. Who could this be? Was it someone connected to Eva's past, or Daniel's? She glanced at the clock. It was 4:30 p.m. She didn't respond to the message, but decided she would go. The Silver Lantern Cafe was tucked into the corner of a quiet street, its dim lighting and faded decor giving it an air of secrecy. Sophia entered, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on a woman sitting in a booth at the back. The woman was in her late 30s with short auburn hair and piercing green eyes. She waved Sophia over. "You're Sophia," the woman said as Sophia slid into the booth. "Yes," Sophia said cautiously. "And you are?" "Cassandra," the woman replied. "I was Eva's best friend." Sophia's breath caught. "You knew Eva?" Cassandra nodded, her expression somber. "I knew her better than anyone, Tekese, and I know what happened to her." Sophia leaned forward, her pulse quickening. "What happened? Was it really an overdose?" Cassandra's lips tightened. "That's what the police ruled it, but I never believed it. Eva had her struggles, sure, but she wasn't careless, especially not when it came to Lila." "Why would someone want her dead?" Sophia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Cassandra hesitated, then said, "Because she knew too much. Eva had a relationship with your husband. Daniel, I'm sure you know that by now." Sophia nodded. "He told me about the affair. He claims he didn't know about Lila until recently." Cassandra gave a bitter laugh. "That's a lie. Eva told him she was pregnant. She begged him to leave you, but he refused. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, that he couldn't ruin his marriage." Sophia's stomach churned. "He knew?" "Yes," Cassandra said firmly, and when Eva realized she couldn't rely on him, she decided to raise Lila on her own. But things got complicated. "What do you mean?" Sophia pressed. "Eva started looking into Daniel's finances," Cassandra said, her voice dropping. "She suspected he was hiding money, probably to keep her from suing for child support. She told me she'd found something big, but she wouldn't tell me what it was. The next thing I knew, she was dead." Sophia's blood ran cold. "Are you saying Daniel?" "I'm saying it's suspicious," Cassandra said, her eyes locking with Sophia's. "Eva didn't overdose. She was silenced, and your husband knows more than he's letting on." Sophia drove home in a daze, Cassandra's words replaying in her mind. Could Daniel really have been involved in Eva's death? When she walked through the door, Daniel was waiting for her. "Where have you been?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Out," Sophia said flatly, brushing past him. "Sophia, we need to talk," Daniel said, following her into the kitchen. "I know you're upset, but—" "Upset?" Sophia spun around, her voice shaking with anger. "Upset doesn't even begin to cover it, Daniel. I just met someone who told me you knew Eva was pregnant. You knew about Lila, and you lied to me." Daniel's face went pale. "Who told you that?" "Does it matter?" Sophia snapped. "Is it true?" Daniel hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, I knew, but I didn't think she'd keep the baby. Eva told me she was considering an abortion." "But she didn't," Sophia said, her voice cracking. "And you abandoned her. You abandoned your own child." Daniel looked away, guilt written all over his face. "I made a mistake, Sophia. I was young and scared. I didn't know how to handle it." "That's not all," Sophia said, her voice dropping. "Cassandra told me Eva found something you were hiding. And then she ended up dead. What did she find, Daniel?" Daniel's head snapped up, his eyes wide. "You're accusing me of killing her? Are you serious?" I don't know what to believe anymore, Sophia said, tears streaming down her face. But I know you're hiding something, and I'm going to find out what it is. That night, after Daniel went to bed, Sophia crept into his office. She rifled through his desk drawers, searching for anything that might give her answers. In the bottom drawer, she found a folder labeled Private. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside were financial records, bank statements, and a series of emails between Daniel and someone named James Connors. The emails detailed a series of transactions that looked suspicious, large sums of money being funneled into offshore accounts. Sophia's breath caught as she read one email in particular. Eva is threatening to go public. She says she has proof. We need to handle this before it gets out of control. The email was dated just 2 weeks before Eva's death. Sophia stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She had found the proof she needed, but it raised even more terrifying questions. Had Daniel been involved in Eva's death to protect himself? And if so, was she and Lila safe with him? Sophia clutching the folder, her resolve hardening. She knows she can't let Daniel's lies continue, but exposing the truth could put her and Lila in danger. Chapter 7, The Final Blow. Sophia's hands trembled as she stared at the damning email in Daniel's file. Eva is threatening to go public. She says she has proof. We need to handle this before it gets out of control. The words blazed in her mind like a warning siren. Her husband wasn't just hiding Lila's existence, he was tangled in something far darker. If Eva had been silenced to protect Daniel, what would he do if he found out Sophia knew the truth? Sophia carefully copied the documents, tucking the originals back into their place in Daniel's office. She needed to think. She needed help. She needed help. The next day, Sophia met Cassandra again, handing her the folder of evidence. This is what I found, Sophia said, her voice shaking. It connects Daniel to Eva's death, doesn't it? Cassandra's expression hardened as she flipped through the pages. It's more than enough to raise suspicion. These payments, the offshore accounts, and that email, this is a cover-up, Sophia. What should I do? Sophia whispered, fear creeping into her voice. We need to take this to the police, Cassandra said firmly. But you have to be careful. If Daniel gets wind of this, there's no telling how he'll react. Sophia nodded, the gravity of her situation sinking in. I'll do it, for Eva, and for Lila. That evening, Sophia kept up appearances as she waited for the right moment to act. She served dinner, read Lila a bedtime story, and kissed her goodnight as if everything were normal. But her heart raced when Daniel entered their bedroom, his demeanor colder than usual. You've been distant, he said, sitting on the edge of the bed. I can't fix this if you won't talk to me. Sophia crossed her arms, keeping her voice steady. Fix it? How do you fix lying about a child, Daniel? About her mother. I've made mistakes, he said, his tone pleading. But I love you, Sophia. Everything I've done, everything I did to protect us. Protect us? Sophia echoed, her voice rising. Or protect yourself. Daniel's eyes darkened, and for a moment, Sophia saw a flicker of something she didn't recognize. Don't push me, Sophia, he said quietly. The warning in his tone sent a chill down her spine. The next day, Sophia drove to the police station, the folder clutched tightly in her hands. Cassandra met her there, and they standing by her side as she handed over the evidence. This is everything I found, Sophia told the detective. I think it's connected to Eva Harper's death. The detective's face grew serious as he flipped through the documents. This is significant. We'll investigate immediately. Thank you for bringing this in. Sophia felt a glimmer of relief. For the first time, she felt like she had taken a step toward justice. For Eva, for Lila, and for herself. But when she returned home that evening, she found Daniel waiting for her in the living room, his face grim. Where were you? He asked. Sophia hesitated. Running errands. Daniel's jaw tightened. Don't lie to me, Sophia. I know you went to the police. Sophia's heart stopped. How do you know? I saw the files, he said, his voice eerily calm. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I've done. Sophia shot back, her fear giving way to anger. You lied to me for years. Daniel, you left Eva to fend for herself, and now you want to blame me for uncovering the truth? Daniel took a step closer, his expression darkening. You don't understand, Sophia. This isn't just about me. It's bigger than you think. Then explain it to me, Sophia demanded, her voice shaking. What was Eva going to expose? What were you so desperate to hide? Daniel hesitated, his composure slipping. Finally, he said, Eva wasn't the only one who knew. She had help, Someone else was involved, someone who, before he could finish, the doorbell rang, cutting through the tension like a blade. Sophia turned toward the door, but Daniel grabbed her arm. "Don't answer that," he said urgently. But it was too late. The door swung open, and Cassandra stepped inside, followed by two police officers. "Daniel Harper," one of the officers said, "you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit murder." Sophia's eyes widened as the officers moved to cuff Daniel. "Wait," she said, stepping forward. "Conspiracy to commit murder? What does that mean?" "It means," Cassandra said, her voice steely, "Daniel didn't act alone." Sophia's blood ran cold. "Who else was involved?" Cassandra hesitated, then said, "Eva's death wasn't just about Daniel's secrets. She uncovered something bigger, something that goes all the way back to you, Sophia." Sophia froze. "What are you talking about?" The police officer handed her a folder, and as she flipped through it, the ground seemed to shift beneath her feet. Inside were records tying her own parents to the same offshore account Daniel had been using. Transactions dated decades ago linked her family's business empire to criminal dealings Eva had been investigating. "Eva didn't just threaten Daniel," Cassandra said softly. "She threatened your family's legacy, and they couldn't let that happen." Sophia stared at the documents, her heart shattering. The family she had trusted her whole life had played a role in destroying Eva, and by extension, Lila's life. With Sophia sitting in stunned silence as Daniel is taken away. She realizes the betrayal runs deeper than she ever imagined, leaving her with one burning question. Can she protect Lila from the fallout of not just Daniel's lies, but her own family's dark past? Epilogue, a new beginning. The soft hum of the ocean waves filled the air as Sophia stood on the balcony of her new home, staring at the horizon. The salty breeze carried the scent of fresh beginnings, a stark contrast to the chaos that had nearly consumed her life. It had been 6 months since Daniel's arrest, 6 months since the truth had shattered her world. His lies, Eva's fate, and the devastating revelation that her own family had played a role in the cover-up. Sophia had spent weeks untangling the mess, cooperating with authorities, and testifying in court. Daniel had pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice but denied involvement in Eva's death. The deeper investigation revealed that while he had tried to cover up his affair and Lila's existence, it was her own father, Victor Ellis, who had ensured Eva's silence, fearing the scandal would destroy their family's reputation. The betrayal cut deeper than she could have ever imagined. Her father was arrested. Her mother, ever the devoted wife, stood by him, denying everything. Sophia had walked away, knowing she could never trust them again. But there was one person who needed her more than ever. Lila. "Mama." Lila's voice pulled Sophia from her thoughts. She turned to see her daughter running toward her, her little feet padding across the wooden floor. Sophia knelt down, catching Lila in her arms, lifting her effortlessly. "What is it, my love?" Lila giggled, pointing at the sky. "Look, the sun is hiding in the water." Sophia smiled, following her gaze. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the waves. It was breathtaking. "It's called a sunset," she explained. "It's a sign that a new day is coming." Lila leaned her head against Sophia's shoulder. "Like us?" Sophia swallowed the lump in her throat and pressed a kiss to Lila's curls. "Exactly like us." Moving away had been the hardest but best decision. She had sold their old house and settled in a quiet coastal town, far from the whispers and judgment. It wasn't easy, rebuilding from nothing. But she was no longer alone. Cassandra had become a close friend, checking in regularly. Therapy had helped Sophia work through the pain of betrayal, and most importantly, she had learned to stop blaming herself. And Lila? Lila was thriving. She laughed more, played more, and no longer carried the sadness of an unspoken past. She was safe, loved, and free to just be a child. As Sophia rocked Lila in her arms, watching the last light of the sun fade, she realized something. For so long, she had searched for healing in the wrong places. In her marriage, in the idea of a perfect family, but healing had been right in front of her all along. In the small arms wrapped around her neck, in the laughter that filled their home, in the simple beauty of watching a sunset with her daughter. She had lost so much, but she had gained something far greater, a new beginning, a family, and finally, peace. Secrets can shatter lives, but the truth has the power to heal, even when it feels impossible. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. Sophia's story reminds us that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the strongest families. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories, and tell us in the comments what was your jaw dropping moment in this story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay curious and keep reading. See you soon.